Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Monday, May 20th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap the PGA Championship and go over where all the big names finish, go over the Preakness from the other day, the NBA and Stanley Cup playoff games from the weekend, look ahead to tonight's games, go over yesterday's baseball games, look ahead to today's games, weekly power rankings, and my best bet of the day. All right, we're going to start with the PGA Championship, and your winner this year, wire-to-wire winner, I may add, and that is Brooks Koepka. He was my pick to win the tournament before the tournament, and he came through. He was outstanding. He is arguably the best golfer in the world right now. He's just absolutely sensational. And he finished with the -8, earning $2 million. Dustin Johnson came in second with the -6, earnings of $1.2 million. Third place was a tie. Matt Wallace, Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth all get $575,000. Sixth place was Luke List. In seventh place was Sung-Hoon Kang. Eighth place was a bunch of people, including Rory McIlroy with a +1. Kang was even, by the way, and List was -1. Wallace was -2 with Spieth and Cantlay. Other notables in here, Jason Day was a +4, tied for 23rd. You had Tiger that didn't even make the cut. We talked about that the other day. Ricky Fowler, tied for 36 with a +6. You had Zach Johnson, tied for 54th with a +9. Phil Mickelson, tied for 71st with a +12. Bubba Watson was cut. We already mentioned Tiger. And that's really it among notables. And the next big tournament isn't for a while. You have the U.S. Open, which is June 13th to June 16th. And you have a couple little ones like the Charles Schwab Challenge next weekend, the following weekend the Memorial Tournament, the RBC Canadian after that, and then the U.S. Open. So a couple more weeks to go until the U.S. Open. Now we'll move on to the Preakness, where yet again we have an interesting finish. We had War of Will win it. And War of Will is the horse that was interfered in the Derby. But the interesting thing about this race was Boat Express ran the entire Preakness without a jockey because the horse literally knocked off the jockey after the gates went up and the race started, and literally he knocks the jockey off, he falls down, and then he races without the jockey. That was the big story from the Preakness, although War of Will really ran a great race, and he should be considered the favorite to win the Belmont, which is June 8th. And coming in second was Everfast, who had 29-1 odds to win the race. And then Owendale came in third, who was 7-1 to win. Fourth place was Warriors Charge, 12-1. Laughing Fox came in fifth, Improbable sixth, Win 7th, Bourbon War 8th, Single Man 9th, Another Wisp Fate 10th, Always Smiling 11th, Market King 12th, and then Boat Express obviously was the horse that raced without the jockey. So we have a couple more weeks to go until the Belmont, and I might have my buddy Jeff Burns on again to preview that race and talk about all the events that have happened in the Triple Crown so far that has everybody talking. Now we'll move on to the NBA playoffs. We're going to go over the games from the weekend and look ahead to tonight's game. Bucks beat the Raptors 125-103 to take a 2-0 series lead on Friday night. Giannis Antetokounmpo was great. He had 30 points in the game. Nikola Mirotic had 15. Chris Middleton had 12 off the bench. Ersan Ilyasova had 17. George Hill had 13. Malcolm Brogdon had 14. Meanwhile, for the Raptors, Kawhi Leonard had 31. Kyle Lowry had 15. Norman Powell had 14 off the bench. Saturday night, the Warriors defeated the Blazers 110-99 as they take a commanding 3-0 series lead. Stephen Curry was amazing. 36 points and 6 boards, 6 3-pointers. Draymond Green, 20 points, 13 boards, 12 assists. Klay Thompson at 19. Their bench didn't do anything again. CJ McCollum at 23. Damian Lillard at 19, 6 and 6. Myers Leonard at 16. And off the bench, Evan Turner had 12. The story of this game is that yet again, Portland had a double-digit lead at halftime and they couldn't close them out. Unbelievable. And Draymond Green's playing as well as he's ever played in his career. Stephen Curry's been amazing. Klay's been great. And they lost Andre Iguodala in this game due to injury. Will that come back and bite him tonight? You'll see in a minute when I make my pick. Raptors defeat the Bucks 118-112 in double overtime as the Raptors get back on the board in the series. Kawhi Leonard, 36 points, 9 boards. Pascal Siakam had 25 and 11. Norman Powell had 19 off the bench. Kyle Lowry had 11. Marcus Gasol had 16. Meanwhile, for Milwaukee, Giannis fouled out. He had 12 points, 23 rebounds, 7 assists. Nikola Mirotic had 10 with 5 boards. Brook Lopez had 16. Eric Bledsoe had 11. Tonight is Game 4 between the Warriors and the Trailblazers, 9 o'clock ESPN. Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, Doris Burke on the call. Golden State, despite not having Andre Iguodala, is a 3-point favorite. Do I think they close out the Blazers tonight, even without Andre Iguodala? I'm going to be ballsy and say yes. I think that Game 2 broke the Blazers, and they really are intimidated by the Warriors, even without Kevin Durant. It's weird that the Warriors are playing better without him. Not to say that they're a better team without him. They are certainly a better team with Kevin Durant. But the fact that Kevin Durant's not playing because of the injury, I think is motivating guys like Draymond Green to prove themselves, hey, we know you're leaving. We know you're going to the Knicks in all likelihood. So we're proving that we can win without you. So I think they're going to do it again. And Draymond Green will be the best player on the court tonight, although I think Steph Curry will probably lead them in scoring. I do think the Blazers will put up a fight. I think it'll come down to the end. I think Golden State wins 117-110 as they advance their 5th straight NBA Finals. Stanley Cup playoffs, we only had 2 games. Blues over the Sharks 2-1 as they evened up that series at 2 apiece. The first goal of the game was scored by Ivan Barbashev to give the Blues a 1-0 lead. Tyler Bozak's 4th of the postseason on a power play, 2-0 Blues. No goals in the second. Thomas Hertl, his 10th of the postseason on the power play, made it 2-1. At least that game got interesting late, and St. Louis holds on. Number 1 star of the game with 29 saves on 30 shots, Jordan Binghamton. Number 2 star of the game with the goal, Tyler Bozak. Number 3 star of the game, doesn't have a point but did play well, Colton Parayko. Sunday afternoon, the Blues killed the Sharks 5-0 to take a 3-2 series lead. What an incredible win for St. Louis on the road. Jaden Schwartz had a hat trick. He scored the second and the last 2 goals of the game. 12 in the postseason. Oscar Sundqvist scored first. It was his 4th of the postseason. 1-0 Blues. Second period, Schwartz's 10th of the postseason. First of the game, 2-0. Vlad Tarasenko, 7th of the postseason. 3-0. Then Schwartz scores the last 2. 5-0. The one that made it 4-0 was a power play goal. Schwartz was obviously the number star of the game. Number 2 star of the game with the goal and 2 assists, Vladimir Tarasenko. Number 3 star of the game with 21 saves on 21 shots, Jordan Binghamton. The Blues, I think, are going to win the Cup. They're the best team left. Although the Bruins have something to say about that, yes, and I do think the Sharks are still going to be heard from in this series because they're not going to go down easily. So, give the Blues credit. They have just been amazing in these types of games. And no game tonight Tonight would have been Game 6 if the Eastern Final was still going on. Game 6 between the Blues and the Sharks will be tomorrow night from St. Louis. Now move on to baseball, go over yesterday's games and look ahead to tonight's games. Yankees over the Rays 13-5. Yankees take 2 out of 3 from their division rivals. They're in first place in the division now. They're 28-17. Tampa's 27-17. Adam Ottavino gets the win. He's 2-1. Diego Castillo the loss 0-3. Chance Adams gets his first big league save. Chad Green was the opener. He was not good. 1 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and a strikeout. ERA an ugly 13.5. Charlie Morton 4 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts. ERA 2.65. Red Sox over the Astros 4-3. Red Sox salvage a game. They're 24-22. Houston 31-16. Marcus Walden gets the win. He's 6-0. Framber Valdez the loss 1-2. Brendan Workman gets his first save of the season. Chris Sale 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts. ERA 4.31. Wade Miley 5 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. ERA 3.51. Phils over the Rockies 7-5. The Phils are 27-19. Colorado's 20-25. The winning pitcher for Philly, Edgar Garcia. Brian Shaw lost 2-1. Pat Neshek gets his third save of the season. Jared Eichhoff started 5 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, a walk, 5 strikeouts. ERA 3.23. Kyle Freeland an inning and 2/3. 4 hits, 3 runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. ERA 6.02. Indians over the Orioles 10-0. The Indians are 25-20. Baltimore's 15-31. Shane Bieber the win. Jeffrey Ramirez the loss. Bieber was awesome. A complete game. 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 15 strikeouts. ERA 3.22. Jeffrey Ramirez 3 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. ERA an ugly 6.97. Athletics Tigers got suspended. It will resume on September 6th. Dodgers over the Reds 8-3. The Dodgers are 31-17. Cincinnati 21-26. Hajan Ryu to win. He's 6-1. Tanner Roark the loss 3-3. Hajan Ryu 7 innings, 5 hits, no runs, a walk, 5 strikeouts. ERA 1.52. Tanner Roark 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. ERA 3.51. Marlins over the Mets 3-0. Mets get swept. Their manager's on the hot seat. Maybe we'll hear something within the next 15 minutes if we're still going. Miami's 13-31. Mets are 20-25. Sandy Alcantara to win 2-4. Noah Syndergaard to loss 3-4. Alcantara complete game 2-hitter. No earned runs obviously. A walk, 8 strikeouts. ERA 4.25. Noah Syndergaard 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, 3 strikeouts. ERA 4.5. Brewers over the Braves 3-2 in 10 innings. Milwaukee's 28-21. Atlanta's 25-22. Josh Hader to win 1-3. The losing pitcher for Atlanta, Wes Parsons. Blue Jays over the White Sox 5-2. The Blue Jays are 19-27. Chicago's 21-24. Daniel Hudson the win 3-1. Kelvin Herrera the loss 1-3. Ken Giles gets his 10th save of the season. Rangers over the Cardinals 5-4 in 10 innings on a walk-off. Sac fly by Nomar Mazara. Texas is 21-23. St. Louis is 24-23. The winning pitcher for the Rangers, Hinmar Gomez. Jordan Hicks gets the loss for St. Louis. Giants over the Diamondbacks 3-2. San Francisco is 20-25. Arizona is 25-22. Sam Dyson the win. Yoichi Hirano the loss. Will Smith gets his 12th save of the year. Royals over the Angels 5-1. The Royals are 16-31. The Angels are 22-24. Danny Duffy to win. Tyler Skaggs the loss. Pirates over the Padres 6-4. The Pirates are 24-20. San Diego's 23-24. Joe Musgrove the win. Cal Quantrill the loss. Felipe Vasquez gets his 13th save of the season. Mariners over the Twins 7-4. Seattle's 23-26. Minnesota's 30-16. Yusei Kikuchi to win. Kyle Gibson the loss. Last but not least, Cubs over the Nationals 6-5. Chicago is 27-17. Washington's 19-27. Kendricks the win. Jeremy Hellickson the loss. Steve Chiswick gets his 4th save of the season. Going on right now is the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. 6 o'clock you have the Athletics and the Indians. Brett Anderson and Carlos Carrasco. 7 o'clock Yankees Orioles. Jay Happ and Andrew Kashner. Nationals, Mets. Patrick Corbin and Wilmer Font. 8 o'clock, Phillies, Cubs. Jake Arrieta and Yu Darvish. That's interesting because that's Jake Arrieta's return to Chicago. I wonder if that's his first time pitching in Wrigley Field as a Philly. I think it is. So I'm interested to see what reception he gets tonight. And obviously the Cubs signed Yu Darvish to replace Arrieta, and that really hasn't worked out for them. I think if I'm the Cubs, I'd rather have Arrieta. Mariners, Rangers. Mike Leake and Mike Minor. Minor, obviously, somebody that's having a good season. The White Sox and the Astros. Brad Peacock going for Houston and Ryan Burr going for Chicago. Braves, Giants at 9:45. Mike Soroka and Andrew Suarez. Twins, Angels at 10 o'clock. Jake Odorizzi and Taylor Cole. And Diamondbacks, Padres. Luke Weaver and Chris Paddock. Two good young pitchers there in the division match. Now we're going to go through my power rankings for the week. Going to go from 30 to 1 as I do each and every time. 30 is the Miami Marlins. They just swept the Mets, but they're still the worst team in the league. 29 is the Orioles. They're obviously the worst team in the AL. You could argue that they should be 30 because the Marlins swept the Mets, but the Marlins still have the worst record. But I won't be surprised at some point if the Orioles are eventually 30. 28 is the Royals. They're a team that isn't very good, obviously. Hunter Dozier's been pretty good for them. He's turned into a late bloomer for them after many people thought he was a bust. 27, the Detroit Tigers. They're another team that's kind of bad in that division. But I just don't think they're very good. They have a better record than I would have thought, but that's credited to their manager, Rod Gardenhire, getting a lot out of his players. 26 is the Toronto Blue Jays. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is your AL Player of the Week, and deservingly so. He's finally on a roll after a slow start. 25, the San Francisco Giants. They're interesting. They're actually 500 in their last 10, but I think that they're bound to be a seller at the deadline, and Madison Bumgarner will be out the door. 24 is the New York Mets. Mickey Callaway's the manager in baseball that is on the hottest seat. I don't care if Brody Van Wagenen comes out in 10 minutes and says that Mickey's safe. That is the manager on the hottest seat by far. They're an embarrassment right now, getting swept in Miami by the Marlins. Jacob deGrom was awful the other night. Noah Syndergaard got no run support, and that team is just in trouble. 23 is the Cincinnati Reds. They're playing a little bit better of late. 22 is the Chicago White Sox. They're only 3 games under 500. I think that's credit to Ricky Renteria getting a lot out of his players, and that has to do a lot of guys that have underperformed are finally turning it around, like Lucas Giolito and Yoan Moncada. 21 is the Seattle Mariners. They just traded away Anthony Swarzak to the Atlanta Braves for Arodys Viciano, who's out for the year, and Jesse Biddle, who is designated for assignment. So it's interesting to see who's next to go out the door. We all know that Jerry DiPoto likes to trade. 20 is the Colorado Rockies. They're 20 and 25, but I don't think this is a bad team whatsoever. They just are dealing with some fluky things, and I think this is a team that I think will eventually turn it around. 19 is the Washington Nationals. They're another team that's under a lot of pressure. I know all the attention's on the Mets, and rightfully so. But Dave Martinez is also a manager that's in trouble, and I won't be surprised if he's the next manager fired if Mickey Callaway isn't. 18 is the Texas Rangers. They're a team that I think has overperformed this year, especially their starting pitching. Mike Minor, somebody that I think is going to be a hot commodity at the trade deadline. And I think they can get a package similar to what the Yankees gave up for J. Happ last year, which I think would be a win for Texas. 17 is the Oakland Athletics. They're an interesting team. They're a team that's under 500. They, I think, will be a seller. I actually predicted a slow start from them this season to the point that they would be a seller, and I predicted that Blake Trinan would be the surprise player traded that nobody would have thought before the season. That prediction's looking really good right now, and I think that the Boston Red Sox would be an excellent fit for him. 16 is the Los Angeles Angels. They're a team that I think has overperformed. I think getting Shohei Ohtani back was a big boost, and obviously Mike Trout is Mike Trout. 15 is the San Diego Padres. They're under 500 for the first time this year at 23 and 24. They need to get Tatis back soon. Manny Machado isn't hitting for average, but he's provided some power. Franmil Reyes is playing well. Eric Hosmer's been okay. 14 is the St. Louis Cardinals, 2-9 in their last 11. That's unacceptable for a team of that talent. They got off to a great start, and now they're faltering. I think this team will eventually turn it around because I like Mike Schill, and they have good players on that team. But this is very surprising right now. 13 is the Arizona Diamondbacks. Talk about surprises. This doesn't look good if you're a Cardinals fan. Christian Walker's having a better season than Paul Goldschmidt, and Luke Weaver is looking like a keeper long-term for the Diamondbacks. I know that's the price you have to give up if you want to get Paul Goldschmidt. And obviously the Diamondbacks knew they weren't re-signing him, so they went away and traded him. And luckily for the Cardinals, he agreed to an extension, so that trade will probably be a win for them. But the fact that they gave up Carson Kelly, who's come into his own and establishing himself as the catcher of the future for the Diamondbacks, or the catcher for right now, I should say. And the fact that Luke Weaver's pitching very well, and Christian Walker has better numbers than Paul Goldschmidt right now, makes the Cardinals look pretty bad. And you know who also has better power numbers than Paul Goldschmidt? Luke Voit, who was thought out to be the first baseman of the future for the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals traded him away to the Yankees for two below-average relievers in Giovanni Gallegos and Chasen Treve. Number 12 is the Cleveland Indians. They are a team that is 3 games above 500 now. A lot of people think that Trevor Bauer is going to be a pitcher that's traded because the Indians, for some reason, don't want to win. But Shane Bieber, somebody that is really coming into his own. He had a breakout performance yesterday. I picked him to be the breakout pitcher of the year, and I think that he will continue to develop as a borderline ace for the Indians going forward. 11 is the Atlanta Braves. They just pulled off the trade for Anthony Swarzak. I'm not an Anthony Swarzak fan by any account. He was horrible at the Yankees. He had one good year at the White Sox, and then they traded him to Milwaukee. He was okay with the Brewers, and then he signs as a free agent with the Mets, flops with them, gets traded in the Robinson Cano Edwin Diaz trade, and disappoints there, and now he's in Atlanta. And I don't love the pickup for Atlanta. I think that they should have waited till the summer to see if Oakland was out of it and tried to get Blake Trinan, or wait for another good reliever to be available. But Anthony Swarzak, to me, is not the answer to be the Braves closer. Or you could just sign Craig Kimbrell. That's another solution. But my fear with Kimbrell and with Dallas Keuchel are that those guys are not going to contribute right away. And because of the delay, that those guys are going to disappoint wherever they go. 10 is the Pittsburgh Pirates. I can't believe that they're number 10 on my power rankings. I don't think I'd ever would have thought that I'd had the Pittsburgh Pirates in my top 10 in the power rankings at all this year. But gotta give them credit. They're playing very well. Josh Bell is finally living up to expectations. Their pitching's been pretty good, and Clint Hurdle is just a darn good manager. 9 is the Boston Red Sox. They seem to have turned it around after a slow start. Yeah, they just lost 2 out of 3 to the Astros, but the Astros are the best team in the league. So I can't really fault them for that. 8's the Philadelphia Phillies. They got swept by the Brewers, but rebound and take a couple from the Rockies. I think this is a team that could comfortably win their division if the Mets, Atlanta, and Washington really don't turn things around. 7's the Milwaukee Brewers. They're a team that's playing pretty well. 28-21 on the year. Christian Yelich is your MVP favorite in the National League. He's just been so good. And I think he established himself as the second best guy in the league behind Mike Trout. Although you can make a case for Cody Bellinger. And you can make a case for Aaron Judge when he's healthy. You could make a case, obviously, for Mookie Betts. And obviously Bryce Harper when he's right. But right now, I think it's Christian Yelich. If you're asking me who's the second best player in baseball behind Mike Trout. 6 is the Tampa Bay Rays. Disappointing series loss against the Yankees over the weekend. They could have, in theory, won 2 out of 3, but if it weren't for that rain delay on Friday night, they probably would have won 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. but they didn't give the Yankees credit for that. And I think the Rays will be fine. And speaking of the Yankees, they're number 5. 2 big series wins in a row against the Rays. One last weekend in Tampa, one this weekend at home. And now they get a soft part of their schedule as the Orioles they see in Camden Yards, and then they play the Royals in Kansas City. So they really, in theory, should go, assuming it's 6 games, this should be 5-1 or at worst 4-2. I get it, it's on the road. And Aaron Hicks is somebody that came back to the lineup and finally hit a home run the other day. Didi Gregorius is close. Giancarlo Stanton's playing in rehab games, so the Yankees are getting healthy at a good time as they are in first place in the American League East. For the Chicago Cubs, they're playing good baseball. They just won a series in D.C. against the Nats. Chris Bryant looks like the Chris Bryant of old again. 3 the Minnesota Twins. They just destroyed the Mariners over the weekend, although the Mariners beat them yesterday. But they blew them out the other night. Byron Buxton looks like he's finally living up to potential. 2, the Los Angeles Dodgers. They've been playing good ball lately, too. And they're a team that I think is the team to beat in the National League, although the Cubs have something to say about that. And my buddy Jeff Manglochetti came on the podcast, and he thought the Brewers were the team to beat. I mean, that's interesting because they have Yelich, obviously, but I think their pitching needs to improve if they want that title. And number 1, the Houston Astros, no doubt about it. They're going to be number 1 on this list for as long as they've shown it. They really would have to go like a disastrous 1-5 in a week for me to drop them, which I don't see, or if the Yankees go 6-0 in a week, or the Cubs or whomever. But Houston's the team to beat, no doubt about it. George Springer's the AL MVP favorite right now. Alex Bregman's playing well. Carlos Correa's hitting. They don't even have Jose Altuve, and they just snapped a 10-game winning streak. So their depth is really good. Aledmys Diaz has played well. Their pitching's good. So this team is in tremendous shape, and obviously they have the best record in the game right now. And last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by DraftKings. My latest best bet did not go over well because I had the Blazers. I don't know if I'm going to put the Warriors on there yet. I'm debating it. Too bad there's not hockey tonight, or else I would have went in that direction too. Without further ado, here we go. I'm going to take the Indians against Oakland, although I'm not super about that pick. The Yankees in Baltimore, I almost said D.C. We'll go with the Astros against the White Sox. The Braves at San Francisco. I just think the Giants are so bad. The Twins are an underdog, but an undeserving underdog. That's weird. I wonder if somebody's hurt. And Arizona's an underdog too. I'm going to go with those 4. As I mentioned, Braves, Astros, Yankees, Indians. And then you know what? I'm going to take the Warriors. A shade above 9-1. Going to wager 39 cents. Payout of $3.94. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping Game 4 between the Blazers and the Warriors. I will also be going over all the baseball, preview Game 6 between the Sharks and the Blues, MLB mock draft tomorrow, and I'll have my best bet for tomorrow as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.